Hi everyone, in this section finally we would find out how to create animation interaction. Basically dynamically would have interaction with the visualization. Again, we will use the scatter plot for synthetic data that we just created based on some random numbers, and how we see how we could use the zoom interaction for creating an animation that just zoom into some areas of the data for the visualization, and it just zoom back and use other regions. So it just gives you a feeling of the animation and how we could interact with the visualization. So if you click here in the developing events and simple interactions such as clicks event and creating animation, the only thing that we changed in comparison to the previous one that we created the scatter plot is that we need to have a transforms, that we just use the zooming interaction for zooming and zooming out interactively to create a animation. This transform function is defined here. So basically you want to tell the transformation that which parts that you want to zoom, so it just takes the parts based on the clustering of the data. The x0, x1, y1, and y0 are the extents of the data in each region. And then we zoom in those regions, and then we zoom back, and we just repeat this transformation to create an animation, or just gives the user feeling that the interaction is like the animation. As I said, we use synthesized random data that we just created based on some random numbers here in comparison to the previous data that we just use some real application data here in order to show how this animation interactivities work. We just use with some synthetic data, and here you would find these clusters, but in order to see the interactivity you need to click on this notebook here. So you see that it just zoom out in different clusters that we have. Also it just show you the overview of 3 clusters created based on these random numbers, and it just zooms on the cluster 0, 1, and 2 interactively. So it just gives you the feeling of an animation. It just show you the overview and zoom on each clusters. So it's a good homework for you to just use the breast cancer dataset instead of just this synthetic data created based on random numbers. I just go over the steps that we used. So similar to the previous one, for the bar charts that we had the zoom interaction, we want to have the zoom interaction, but the transformation that the function of the transform we define, it just makes this zoom interaction bounded or similar to the animation. So you just zoom in and zoom out in different regions. Other steps is similar to the previous scatter plots that we had, and it just update this transform function, update the bar chart or this scatter plot. So it just zoom in, zoom out sequentially for different clusters. Here we define, as I said, a synthetic data based on the random numbers for 3 different clusters, and then we define the transform function that just does the job for zooming in and zooming out and updating the scatter plot. And similar to the previous one, we have the x, y scales, and also the x and y axis, and also the height, width, heights, widths, and other attributes that we define. So that's just a notebook that you want to follow for creating an animation based on these different clusters that we have here. Thank you.